All right, some people might not like this, some people might not be ready to hear the truth, but I'm gonna give you the truth right now. This is gonna get me in some trouble, but here we go. If you know what these do, like if you know what these held items do, how they work, right? And why you're putting them on a Pokemon, or if you understand what these boost emblems do and what you are building with these boost emblems, you are basically free to play whatever you want, and it will be fine. It will. It'll be fine. It's not going to change the direction of the match too intensely unless you don't know what they do or what they're doing. In fact, a good build with held items, you having no clue how any of them work, is probably worse than a bad build with held items or boost emblems if you don't understand what they do. How did I word that? My brain's not working. Let me say this again. A good build that you have no clue how it works is not great. A bad build that you actually kind of know how it works, that's way better. Let me explain a little more deeply. Jake, your resident content cowboy here. Yee to the ha. Let's talk about held items and why there are a lot of options that actually work for tons of different Pokemon. So something happens, especially when you take a look at like the example sets for certain Pokemon. Every once in a while, there's one here that's pretty troll. But outside of something that's pretty troll, as long as you understand what your intention is with these items, I think you're gonna do just fine. Like, let's look at this set right here. This is Specs, Glasses, Specs, right? This is a full damage set for Mr. Mime. You don't get the EXP share, which I think is amazing on this Pokemon. You don't get like a buddy barrier to help your allies. You're going full damage. You're probably playing Barrier Confusion. You might be playing Psychic. You might be playing Power Swap Confusion also. But in general, you're looking to go full damage. I wouldn't say this is the absolute best build all the time, but if you know what you're looking to do with it and you're trying to be a full damage mime and you understand why you are picking these items, what you're going to be able to do with choice specs, how that extra pop of damage is going to help you get secures, this is a very reasonable item setup. Now, the problem comes when you see people with chaotic item setups. See, I didn't have to look far for some of them. Right here on Alolan Ninetales, a lot of these Alolan Ninetales masters. Spoon, Leftovers, Assault Vest. This is pretty chaotic. Charging Charm, Float Stone, Special Attack Specs. This is like fully crazy. You should be in Arkham Asylum. But even still, with some of these, if you understand why you are picking these items, there's at least an argument for them. By the way, all of these item sets on Alolan Ninetales are pretty wild. But I think a good example of this is the item Shell Bell. Shell Bell is like the perfect item to explain what this whole video is about. So let's take a look at an item like Choice Specs first. I think Choice Specs and Shell Bell are pretty interchangeable. You could find them on a lot of different builds, but I think for me personally, Choice Specs is almost always a better call because it will help you secure last hits or it will help you KO enemies in situations where you may not have before, and that could be a huge difference maker. So Choice Specs gives you that extra bit of damage when you hit a Pokemon with special attack, and if you take a look at Shell Bell is going to give you less special attack. That gives you 39. This only gives you 24. It's going to give you a little cooldown reduction, and Shell Bell is also going to give you an opportunity to recover HP. It's weird the way this works because it still procs even if you're full HP, so you get opportunities where it like won't recover your HP. By the way, if Shell Bell gave a shield when you were full HP, this would be such a better item. Anyway, the point is, if you're an Alolan Ninetales player and your build looks like this, Slick Spoon, Wise Glasses, Shell Bell, as opposed to Slick Spoon, Wise Glasses, Choice Specs, it's going to make almost zero difference in your games. You're fine. This is a special attack item. It gives you a little extra cooldown. It'll heal you every once in a while. This is totally fine. And there are a lot of examples like this. I'll post videos where I might be playing a specific build because the chat asked me for it, or I might just be playing a build that I would like to play, and you'll have people arguing pretty intensely about some of the held items. I had one the other day with Decidueye where everyone really wanted me to be running Razor Claw, which Razor Claw is fine. You don't proc the slow on Decidueye, but you can get some secures with it. There's some little extra damage that you can get. You can quick fire a Spirit Shackle and get, you know, that little extra proc after you auto. There's something to it, and if that's your play style, okay. But you playing a build that reasonably works well for your Pokemon, especially if you understand how it works, is more than enough. There's so much variance in this game. There's so much going on with your randoms and all this. It is so irrelevant whether or not you have a Razor Claw or if you like using Muscle Band more. It really is. There are a few items that I think are kind of non-negotiables, and maybe later in this video I'll quickly talk about some non-negotiables. But even then, if you know what your Pokemon is doing and you understand what your win condition is and how you fight with these items, you're totally fine. And I think people get held up on the items because, for the most part, people want an answer as to why they're not winning or an answer as to what they can change that's going to drastically improve their gameplay experience. And truthfully, the real answer to getting better at this game, winning more matches, is not to have the perfect item setup. It could help, but it would be to understand how your Pokemon works, at least understand how the items you are using work, and sadly, getting good. Playing the game, understanding the macro, understanding when to be at fights. When can you take a fight? When can you not? When can you throw your Unite? When is there no way you're going to be able to win this fight? When should you actually give up a KO right now so you can possibly steal something? All of these things have nothing to do with boost emblems. They have nothing to do with items. I know we want that silver bullet that's going to take your games to the next level, but it is not just because you're running choice specs instead of Shell Bell. It isn't that. And now I guess I can talk about real quickly the unfortunate thing about bad items. The unfortunate thing with bad items is that they are an indicator. I played a match yesterday or the day before, and we had a Pikachu that had weakness policy, charging charm, score, something else. They called jungle. They did jungle, like half of jungle once, never went back. They did every single thing, right? I think, unfortunately, a weird item setup, it does signal to your team like, hey, I'm a maniac and I'm about to do some maniac stuff. But if you understand your items, I think it's totally fine. Even some that I don't love, like for instance, I remember, this is a great example. Phil Yumas, he's the defender player for Team YT. He's a really good defender player. He's a top player and his team was a top team in North America. He would sometimes run Assault Vest or no EXP share on his defenders while other players would not do that at all. And based on his play style and understanding how those items worked in the situation, he actually made some big plays because of that. And based on his defender play style, something like that worked really well. In general, there are items that I think you should just kind of stay away from. I do think, unfortunately, oftentimes Assault Vest is pretty troll. Not running EXP share on a few Pokemon is pretty troll. But if you get what you're doing, you're good. If you get what your items do, you're good. Now, if you don't, this should be a big wake-up call. Understand what your items do, what they're contributing to your kit, and how it's helping you. Do you run a focus band, but at the same time, you get into a fight every single match at like 2 minutes, 30 seconds, waste your focus band and you don't have it for Ray? Don't run it. Or are you a defender and you're like wondering what that next item should be and you've tried Buddy Barrier, but you just don't understand how to get value for it? Start learning how it works. Start throwing your Unite defensively so you can help your allies. There are so many good options with items, and all the time, you'll see a player in a tournament bring something in that people don't play often, and then everyone goes, oh yeah, actually when you look at it, this works pretty well. That's true of so many different item setups. If the item works for your Pokemon, like if it works for your stats, right? It's a special attack item, special attack item for attackers, attack-based Pokemon. And the item contributes to what your gameplay style is and what your plan is for victory and victory in your fights, it's a good item. It is. It might not be the best. You might be able to math out a slightly better item. Fair enough. And I think, again, there are items that people just are confused by, like Drain Crown, where they think it's good and it's actually not doing anything. But If you're running a shell bell and you're like, do I need to switch this with wise glasses? Not really. No, you don't. You don't. You just need to understand how your items work. I would say there are a few non-negotiables. Like, there are a few supports in the game that I really think, like, for instance, Comfey, I actually think is actively trolling to not run EXP share. A lot of defenders and supports, I think EXP share is clearly one of the best items in the game, and you should definitely run it. But there are other options for many, many Pokemon. Like, let's just go through a couple at random right here, and we'll talk about it. Like, Chandelure. Chandelure right here, we've got people with Slick Spoon, Choice Specs, and Curse. Actually, everyone's like running this. I was hoping we were going to see some Curse options here, because Curse is a great example. Curse is amazing on a few Pokemon, but not enough people run it. Let's take a look at Ho-Oh. Ho-Oh is going to be an interesting one for sure. It's going to be a lot of stacking, I think. Oh my gosh. See, this is the example. This Ho-Oh build is troll. I think they're purposely putting it here because they're Ho-Oh Master right now and they want people to pick it up. The one the game recommends, also kind of troll. I mean, you get focus, right? But look at this. The Ho-Oh Master, muscle, focus with attack weight. Yeah, solid. We've got a curse item here. If they understand how to get value out of this. They have Resident Guard. They have Focus Band. These are all really, really solid choices. So I know that when games are getting frustrating, you want to grasp for something and you want to say, I found it. It was my item build. It's what was slowing me down. And it could be, but really the thing that would slow you down is not your item build. It would be you not understanding how each item in your build contributes to you winning. That's the most important thing. It's not that you have to have the exact perfect item setup. If you know what your items do, you know how to get value out of them, and they are not fully trolling, like they're not literally on a useless stat for your Pokemon, you're okay. You really are. There's so much going on in a match that matters so much more than, if I only wasn't running this Eos cookie and I had Resident Guard, that would be the winning formula. Like, no, that's just not it. It's not. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I love you all, and I will see you all next time. Just know what you're doing. Just if you do what you are doing on purpose and it makes sense, you're golden. Bye. We did it.